Right. Hey guys, welcome to another webinar. Let me see. Actually, let's get that off of mute there. How's that? So if everybody can hear me there, we should be good. But hey, welcome to another webinar from Rocky Mountain Unmanned Systems. Today we're going to be talking about the M600 Pro as well as the new Z30. We had just recently got this on yesterday, so I have already pretty much blown up Facebook with all of the videos that we had just recently did some recording on. After the webinar, we'll have a space on the Z30 page to download some of the pictures and the video and stuff like that available. So after watching today's webinar, like I said, we'll try to record this and have it ready to go for your viewing later. And if you haven't already done so, a lot of the webinars that are currently out there right now that we've already edited and changed and created are on YouTube, our YouTube channel, Rocky Mountain Unmanned Systems YouTube channel. So all of the information that we have that we're going to talk about today will be available a little bit later on YouTube. Basically behind us we have the M600 standard, and we have over on the other side an M600 Pro. We'll take a little bit closer look, try to talk about some of the comparisons between the two. I really kind of wanted to turn this webinar into a question and answer type thing, so we'll just take a little bit of close looks at the M600 Pro, how it's set up, the differences between the standard and the Pro, and as well as again, any questions during that time, please raise your hand and let us know. So today I have Chad from Rocky Mountain Unmanned Systems helping us out today, and as well as JT is going to be running the Osmo. So if you see them in the shots a little bit here and there, hopefully that isn't too distractive. So, but let's kind of get started. So let's see. Let's get to this, and we should be seeing our screen here in just a second. Chad, what do you say? Yep. Okay, come back over. Let's just make this bigger. Okay, so once again, M600 Pro and the Z30. We kind of want to talk about again the getting into the M600. Kind of that'll be the first part, is just talking about that. The differences again between the standard M600, the M600 Pro. From there, we'll go and discuss a little bit about trying to get the M600 Pro and the RTK together. They do work together, but we'll discuss a little bit of that. Just a simple, some of the things I've run into. We've already had a couple of customers want to order them that way, and why it's not quite as seamless right at this moment. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Then we'll go right into the Z30 industrial camera. Like I said, we haven't had very much time with that with the camera itself, so we'll try to go into the next part, and that's just some of the specs and uses that we're going to be what this camera is engineered for. And then I've got some images that we took yesterday from the Z30, which again will be available on our website at rmus.com under the Z30 image, or the Z30 page. And then if we have some time, because we've had a lot of questions about the Inspire 2, basically this is just kind of where I think this might fit into, is the Inspire 2 itself into the industrial platform or whatnot. So Rocky Mountain definitely does a little bit more of the inspection, municipal type setups. We create solutions and stuff for that market, and we don't do too much in the cinema, although that's kind of what the Inspire 2 is kind of pushed for. So I get a lot of questions about how cameras are going to work. So we have some time today. I'll just discuss it and give you my thoughts on that. And then we'll be open to questions. And like I said, as long as you want to hang out during the webinar and questions are kind of geared around or towards the presentation today, I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can. So that's basically what we'll be doing today. So let's go ahead and pull up my webcam. Sorry, technical thing here. There we go, and we'll go here. Okay, so the M600 Pro, very excited when it first came out. I think everybody in general was pretty much ready to just get that thing because it was only, number one, $500 more than the original M600, which is right here behind me. $500 more and you get the full Pro kit. And what does make it a Pro? Well, adding on the A3 flight controller and adding additional pucks, the three systems would have cost you around $850 to $900 or so to add those on. And so that is a huge savings from the $500. The other part was that we were able to add that into, or add the hex charger. That's a new product from DJI, the smaller hex charger, and we'll probably grab one of those, Chad, a little later to show what that hex charger is if you haven't already seen one. But it comes with the hex charger and it comes with the Pro setup. The other big one was being able to take the landing gear off, and we'll demonstrate that today on how it is to try to get it off there, and you know, whether it's going to be very smaller. We're working with, currently working with Go Professional cases. You know, we love those guys and they do a great job working really hard to try and get cases for all of our drones out there. And we had talked about doing kind of a smaller case that was going to be available for the M600 Pro. So just a smaller case, probably not going to carry all the batteries or anything else. That's not what I would probably suggest, but we can have separate cases to actually run the batteries. So if we have the ability to keep it compact, that's very helpful for industrial guys. I mean, that's a huge thing. If we're able to basically, again, keep everything separate, you know, to a point, that would be very helpful. Only problem is trying to keep some of the camera gimbals and the operations on the back end. You know, once you put it inside of a case, those rocking around, those were always a concern. So right here, the Z30 will come with the case. You've got other things that might come with the case. So we can show the box that the M600 comes in, and whether or not you choose to use that as a workable case, and or we choose it to be a part of a or buy a separate case made by Go Professionals. That, you know, I mean, my suggestion is to basically not use the shipping case. It's a really glorified shipping case, not much different than the P4. So we got the hex charger. That's okay. So the hex charger, it will come with the cord. When you buy the hex chargers by themselves, they don't come with the cord, and so we have the ability to basically plug this baby in. We can charge 2 remotes off of it. We can charge all 6 batteries off of it. I was going to do a little bit of time tests because, of course, I love the smart power charger that is out right now. We combo those with a lot of our systems, but since DJI has made this smaller, little bit more compact charger, and here we go right here, the M600 will come with this. So the Pro version. So on the side here we have those ports right there that are made for charging the remotes. On here we have just where we plug in our power. And then on the top we have the ability to put all the batteries in. So Chad, would you mind passing me a battery real quick? Yeah. I think we have one sitting over there somewhere. Well, I think they're all just sitting right there on the bottom. Yeah. There we go. So we're able to basically just add this battery real fast to it, and you know, we can have all 6 laid out right there on the top, which is really nice. I mean, being able to run all 6. There is a battery case that comes out that DJI made as well that 2 of the hex chargers will fit into and 18 of the batteries will fit into. A really nice case. And again, that one's made by DJI. Go Professionals will also have a case available to be able to do 18 and 2 of the hex chargers. Currently right now, if you've seen some of my posts, there is a 18 battery case that GoPro already makes, and you can put one of the SPC chargers in that. A design that we helped with Go Professionals, trying to get all of the batteries into one spot. So again, it'll come with a set of TB47 batteries, and it'll come with a hex charger. Remember, anytime throughout the whole thing, you can answer or ask any questions that you want. I'll try to be as attentive as I can with those. Again, this is kind of just an informational, show you a few things if you haven't seen anything up close. So let's just roll this a little bit over to the M600. We'll go ahead and turn the camera over here. Okay, so on the M600, the Pro version, in the box we get these little sleeves. Those are kind of an automatic thing, and what's a little bit different is that we can really push in these arms a little bit tighter to the actual ship. The standard M600 is not capable of quite closing up that far, so we can really tighten these up into a smaller spot, and then once again that the landing gear are removed, these 2 arms will be able to be compressed a little bit further. So that makes it a really, really small package. We'll just pull this down real quick and we'll grab the box. So in essence, it'll come in a shipping container, shipping box. And when we get this box, it's not much bigger than that right there. I mean, there's the lid right there. That's very helpful. And once you take the lid off, you can fit the whole M600 into this space. So pretty cool because, again, it will only occupy this much space. And if we can get a case that can do that without having to do a whole bunch of other stuff, we can keep it compact, small. And for our industrial guys and service guys, small is really important to them. So this would just be one case that would carry your M600. When you separate the case, this portion here, down here is where your hex charger usually comes packed in, and then you have all of your 6 batteries available at the bottom of the case. In the middle of the case, you can store small little peripheral things right here. You can add on, or stick, whatever, accessories or parts. And then underneath this is where your 2 radios can go. So again, it can be considered a case because then it comes in a really heavy-duty cardboard box. I guess you could probably try to throw that into a case. But for the most part, this portion of trying to keep this all together, it's really, really small in relationship to building up another M600 and having it be in the larger cases. So that is a really huge advantage on that. We'll get back to the M600, but here's that DJI case we were just talking about. Thank you, JT, for grabbing that for us. So inside here, we can see all of the battery slots. They're all kind of labeled out. And then again, you can put two hex chargers in this case. So 18 batteries and 2 hex chargers for your Pro. You can keep all of your batteries and that in one case. And this isn't a really big one. I mean, it's fairly small size in comparison to some of the other cases. But this is a DJI product that you can get. And then keeping the other case, keeping your other stuff in the M600 in a smaller case, super helpful to keep everything all compact. What it doesn't really accommodate, if we didn't notice that, it doesn't accommodate for an MX Ronin. It doesn't accommodate for adding a X5 or anything like that. but we're able to take those things off fairly quick, get on location, set them up. So that's probably the only thing that is the disadvantage of the way that the stock case would be used, is you would have to disassemble some of the camera parts off of there to get that up and going. So awesome. Okay, back up here with the M600. Okay. Really cool. It comes with a zipper thing. Basically, it doesn't come with what the other M600 does, and I'll grab that. Are the little foam guys that hold the props on. It's not going to work with that. I mean, it'll work, but I mean, it's not made. They give you these little booties or these little protective gloves for all of your arms. The props are still 21 inch, but these are carbon reinforced. These are not actual carbon. So big difference there. They're still plastic, but with being carbon reinforced, they're a little bit better in the strength, not as much flexibility, so you get a little bit better efficiency out of the whole ship when you're out there running. A little closer look at the hub. The hub is a little bit different, and there isn't too much difference again between the top of the actual system. You know, as far as the whole system goes, it's actually works really well. Not the major difference there. But if we take a little bit closer look at this one, on the side here, this is where our antennas are mounted instead of down here on the leg. So we are able to take the legs off because we have that ability to have the wire come through here instead of previous builds of running the wire down the leg and having the antenna clipped on the bottom of the leg. So that is the biggest reason why we're able to easily take this off. I've already had lots of people ask me that question, if they could modify theirs to be able to take them off. Sure, you can do that. You can cut a hole, you can run it down. That's not very difficult to do, but it's the fact that this one already comes that way that makes it pretty simple. So I'll get on the other side of the table here, and we'll kind of take a landing gear off real quick. So down here on the bottom, you have a little cincher that holds on right here. We can loosen that up right there. And that'll allow this portion of this bracket to drop out. We can remove that out. And there's one part. And this comes in the box like that. And then right here, the spring clip is a little bit different. So the spring clip, we can pull that down and remove the spring. And then this portion will come out. And there's a little bit of a small resistance rubber seal in there that keeps that nice and tight. And then on the end of the arm, you can see that lock. And the lock itself will line us up so that we're lined up where we need to in the inside of there. But inside here, it's kind of a rubber seal. It's a tight fit. It doesn't just slide up in there, and it will not fall off because you've got spring tension as well as rubber. So just for a second, if we end up taking this side off though, and then we have to take the other side off, Carrie Garrison basically made a comment to me that it wasn't going to be really easy to try and do this with one person, which is true. I mean, you basically have to hold the ship real quick, move the other one out of the way. That's Carrie Garrison from Multicopter Warehouse, who we love, by the way. And then unclip here, and then kind of pull that out. So trying to manage this. I'm going to back that up, Chad, just a little bit. Trying to manage it all together to hold the ship, camera on, pull the leg, undo. We basically have the whole thing rolled up and ready to go here. And we can stand it like a squid. We'll put this back on. And that, again, is what makes this a little bit more desirable for compactness. So I can crack that and put this down. And we have that pretty compact. I mean, that's pretty small right there. So landing gear are pulled apart. And those just break up into two small tube pieces. And then the M600 itself. So fairly compact. So I'll just keep kind of breaking it down a little bit here. Okay, so basically I was able to remove the top. Chad, if you want to shoot over here at this standard M600. So we'll just, I mean, if nobody's actually seen that, the standard M600 just has that, when you take this off, we have it running right now. We can see that underneath this cover, we can get a lot of access. We have a lot of easiness. Adding the RTK system, little fan under there. I mean, this is a very common, or the standard setup. And this cover is pretty easy to get off to get in there and do maintenance. We come back over here to the M600 Pro, and the cover is quite different. So the bolt holes pretty much line up the same. And in order to get this cover off, we have to basically take the GPS puck off, remove 4 screws along the top, and then we're able to get underneath into the guts of that. So underneath here, this is already pre-installed. So I have the A3 flight controller and the IMU for the primary flight controller underneath. And then the 2 additional pucks have the IMUs connected here, and then everything is tied in on that. The positive about this, besides having to take the bolts and screws off, is that we have a couple more cam ports. Because you can see that, I mean, let's get a little closer to that. We can see like all of the cam ports are all taken up by the IMU and whatnot. We have one up in the front or in the back that we can use, but everything's taken up here to be able to plug in cameras and run other cables and accessories up to the top. So the design is quite different when it comes to getting in here and maintenance. Up on the front end where the 2 IMUs sit, there's another additional bracket right here. That's a lot different. But the top base plate for the most part is pretty much same with all the bolt holes and lining that up. When you close that back up, there's a couple of spots to be able to run your cables out for your Pro. And then you can bolt your system back on. So then we have all 3 pucks here. And one thing is that, again, we can fold all of our pucks down. And a pretty typical DJI feature right there is to be able to fold all those down and, again, keep it relatively compact right here. Again, a little bit close up there, Chad, and we did bring over an RTK. That is the next question. Is that our next portion of the thing is talking and discussing about how the RTK is going to fit onto this, or how does it all talk. So when you end up buying an RTK system, the RTK itself has the 2 pucks that go on the ship here. When we mount them onto an M600, and that's over here, Chad. We mount them onto an M600, they just sit, there's a bracket already made, it's already made. This whole system right here is made for the M600 original. But I know DJI is kind of working on trying to get a similar system to be set up here. We have one of our fantastic customers, Troy Ballard, who has been doing a lot of work with the RTK system, loves not having to do any compass calibrations or anything like that on his original 600. So he had just recently had asked me about trying to get this on here. And it isn't so much of the bracket that's designed this way, but these 2 pucks have to be minimally 25 centimeters apart. You can locate these anywhere you want, create a bracket on here however you want to basically put all the Pro pucks together as well as the RTK pucks together. So all in all, you've got 5 rolling on the top. One advantage of this is that the RTK will use IMU information through this where it didn't do that before. So now you've got firmware that's now utilizing a little bit more information, but it cancels out the actual compass stuff. So there's that. So look forward a little bit to possibly a specialized RMUS bracket that we're able to make to work with this. We'll try to work on a system that gets all of the RTK mounted on here, connections made. It is a project that I'll probably work on in the next couple of weeks and try to get something made if DJI is kind of slowing up to try to get that out. So it is definitely a good question on whether we need to run it. So on the bottom of it, not too much different than before. Rail mounts are the same. They're a little bit shorter though than the original M600, so they're slightly different there. Landing gear brackets are different because they have that different type of connection that the tubes go into, so that is different. But for the most part, all of the mounting capabilities is exactly the same. You still have Lightbridge 2 running with the HDMI port. So all of that is very similar. Nothing too much has changed there. Oh. All right, so we can go ahead and put that back there. I'll roll that sideways. So there really isn't, to me, as far as the Pro goes, there truly isn't as, you're not increasing any flight time, you're not increasing any numbers there. What basically is the big thing is the compatibility, the addition to being able to do the, keeping it smaller, having the Pro system, having the hex charger, all of those things for basically $500 more. So if you still want the RTK system, I can tell you, if you don't already know, I love my M600. Absolutely love my M600. It's such a great ship. The flight controller, the Lightbridge system, connecting up all of the current X5 cameras, the XTs, all of that stuff, and now the Z30. So it is basically, as far as a heavy lift, and I have built hundreds of them, as far as a heavy lift goes, being able to just change this payload back and forth, going from a heavy payload, Garrett Brill, if you're watching, Garrett was able to take a chainsaw and stick it on the bottom of the M600 and take it up 2 stories, or took it over a river, and was able to deliver a chainsaw, brings it back, and then you can just throw a small little X3 on there, and you're up flying around, giving more situational awareness, versatility, and such an awesome package. I don't see how any one department can't have just a big heavy lift like that for those kinds of jobs. And of course we'll go into the Inspire, but the Inspire is also one of my all-time favorite birds, So approximately 1,800 flights I have between my 2 Inspires, and still rocking it today. My first Inspire is 2 years old. So having that ability to change out some of the cameras between the Inspire or not, that's a fantastic setup. It's fantastic. So let's get into basically the Z30. I think everybody's been pretty excited about that and wanting to ask a few questions, but let me just check and make sure that I don't have any actual questions so far on the webinar. Oh boy, we got lots of comments. Oh, Philip, I noticed your comment about the audio. Hopefully everything's working, or else I just talked for nothing during that whole time. Awesome. Thanks, Randall, for being here. By the way, Randall, our DJI guy, just wanted to throw some props at radio. So hopefully that'll answer that question. I can actually get back with you on that one, David, to see how far away the RTK system can be from the ground station. So we'll get back with that. So anyway, let's move on to the Z30 here. So it's not really, it's not as awesome as you think it is. No, I'm just kidding. It is like the coolest camera, one of the coolest cameras that we were able to basically acquire as far as inspection, everything else. You know, as far as all of that inspection and running and doing, the M600 in combination of the Z30 will change a ton of things. So number one is the industrial side, and that's a pretty simple one. Doing inspections where getting close to something is just not viable. Do we need to read the contents of a Snickers bar from far? No, that's not what this is made for. What we're trying to do is just trying to keep the distance away far enough in the inspection standpoint to be able to take a look at some of the infrastructure and problems that are occurring out there that we get continual questions on. Is how close can I get the Inspire versus let's keep the M600 away at a safe distance and let's run that, you know, take a few pictures and bring those back in for inspection. The big one I get questions on is the 2.1 megapixel sensor. So the sensor itself is a fantastic sensor. I mean, it's a good sensor. And the whole body, and I'm just going to turn this just a little bit. I know it's not really great in the shot. But basically, the whole body of a Z30 is the lens portion. The sensor sits way in the back. The lens itself is pulling in that 30 times zoom. So it's big enough to be, you know, it's a very large body, and everything done internal is just, it's absolutely fantastic. So going into search and rescue, police, fire, that kind of stuff, yeah, I mean, if you need to get the drone closer, that's not always capable and not always possible. So my guys down in Rancho Cucamonga, Buzz, we did a little test with the Z3, took the Inspire out with the Z3. They had a space there was some problems with hikers and could not get good pictures or good video of that space down deep into this canyon. And they were thoroughly impressed, Buzz, thoroughly impressed with the Z3. Now I could only imagine what you're being able to see on a search and rescue standpoint with a Z30. So being able to fit on the Inspire, no, but again, this is, you know, making it work with this platform, or what we'll talk about real quick is the M100. So when you buy the system for either the M600 or the M100, I'm going to try to get some small shots of this, but when you buy that, you're going to get this one is, again, a separate kit for the M100 versus a kit for the M600. They cannot be interchanged. Their cables are different and whatnot. So you're going to get the plate that's going to work with the M100. You'll get some extended landing gear that's going to work with that. But the big thing is the connection on the Z30. So let's get kind of a close-up of that. And that's the tri-mount right there. And if we see, you know, we can see that connection is quite different on the Z30 than it is on any of the other types of X series cameras or the Z3. So up here on the top is a little button, and that's your release button to push to rotate this. And if we turn, this whole thing will actually rotate inside instead of the outside like it's done on the other. So there is no matching up and just rotating on the outside. The whole connector will rotate when you press this button. It locks in there really good because it still has the camber locks in there. I mean, those cam locks are still part of that. But the cable that plugs in, this is again specifically for the M100 and not for the M600. So you do want to make sure that if you have one or the other, that you make sure that you're buying the appropriate one, because this bracket will not work on the M600. Just an FYI. So we'll just take it off real quick. If we push the button, turn, and she drops out nice and pretty. So when you buy the Z30, let's rotate that down just a little bit, Chad. There we go, a little bit more. A little bit more, there we go. So when you buy the Z30, it's going to come in this fantastic hard case. It basically fits in there just like so. When you get it out of there, it will come with a couple of accessories and cables and whatnot. And then when you have the connector, I mean, at RMUS, you can buy the two parts separate, but at RMUS, we're going to include the bracket, depending on what platform you have. We'll include the bracket in the purchase. That's always the next question. How much is it? Well, they're retailing it $9,000, so $89.99. RMUS will provide the bracket as far as that, and they are probably $100 or so, at least for retail. So that'll be part of the purchase. But you'll get this fancy case you can put it in, which is quite awesome. Keep her protected. And then again, close up on the bracket. How it kind of connects up. Really nice and clean. And then the lens. And just sitting here while it's been running, we've had this back one running, we do have, it is warm as it's been sitting here running inside, so heat sinks built on the top basically dissipate a little bit of that heat. And the SD card is right there on the side. So we're going to hot swap this, put it back on here. The camera, when she fires up, is going to go through her normal calibration process. It sounds really abrupt. Kind of freaked me out the first time when I fired it up because I thought I broke it. So it's a little bit, jolts a little bit hard, that first initial fire up when you turn the camera on. On the app here, we'll go a little bit tighter on some of these shots, but on the app, very clean shot. When we take the pictures up to 30 times zoom, remember up to 30 times you're going to have a 2.1 megapixel shot all the way up to that. And some of the shots we were able to get, fantastic. I mean, they look great, they work great, video looked good. But when you get over to the 6 times zoom in digital, yep, you're going to be coming in on the pixels. It's going to look a little rough. I mean, that's basically what it's going to be. So you can't quite change any of that. But that whole combination of everything, in theory, basically gets you a 180 times zoom altogether. If you saw our video yesterday with JT, our guy, coming out of the building and then being able to see the logo on his hat and the fact that he wears glasses out from, I think we're about 100 feet out and about 70 feet high, and being able to see that, absolutely fantastic. So as far as the app goes, you know, we have a couple selections. It's a little hard to see on here, but I'll make a little bit better video on how to operate that all. So the Z30 again has the ability to go to 30 times zoom, app integration. Some of the other features, we have the touch zoom, so you can just touch and get right up in there on the shots. Let me show you my screen here, and we'll pull up some images that we had yesterday. Let's see. Hold on. And let me share that. Get rid of this. So some of the images we had yesterday, we were able to basically get this initial shot. That is at 2.1 megapixel. As we increase to the next zoom, this is probably around 6 times zoom. That's around 10. There's about 20 maybe. There's 30. And this is where we start to pixelate a little bit. So we get this little ring of color around the birds. But we can go digital zoom. And if we roll back out, that's full 180 times zoom. See if you can even see the birds on the line when we come back out. I personally can't even believe Chad saw the birds when we were sitting where we were.
This was also overcast.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah. So there's the start Can you even see the birds? So pretty incredible power there. If you take a look at this other one that we did, this is just, yeah, I mean, next to us we have some pretty close towers out there over the top of our, or just west of our flying field, if you will. So we do a lot of testing right there, but again, if we roll in just a little bit here, and I just posted a video today of looking at this green sign that's in that shot right there. Once it focuses, and we haven't moved the ship, I mean, we're just in the zoom, so there's your almost 30 times zoom right there. And those are probably, I'm best guessing, probably at least, they're probably closer to a quarter of a mile away. And we're still going on this. I mean, incredible. So one more shot, and that is a full digital zoom. And of course, that doesn't look that fantastic, but I mean, full digital zoom, and when we come back out, we'll go pretty quick through this. I mean, those are those towers over there on the right. And that's our original image starting right there. So absolutely incredible camera, I'm telling you. So I just posted just a bit ago before we started the webinar, sitting right at this spot, being able to get a little bit closer and seeing that what is on that green sign down there, being able to read the words on that. Okay, so we're about, in the broadcast. It's 11:48. Please, like I said, you can message me on Facebook. You can shoot emails to us, sales at Rocky Mountain, if you have any questions on pricing. I'm sure that we'll probably come up with some combos and whatnot that are available. But for this last 10 minutes, I'll try to do as many questions as I can. It's very simple. Like I said, it's not that it's very difficult in the operation of this camera. Yesterday we ran a twin camera system, or a two-man system, basically. Being able to run the camera itself. Let's rotate that up just a little. The camera itself, and doing the me flying the bird, Chad running the camera. Excuse his lack of gimbal control because he's fairly new at that. So. Funny guy.
It takes a little to get used to.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. So, but being able to run two-man, I will say that is that's some serious practice when you're moving it around. So, even as we go ahead, yeah, come bring that up here just a little bit. You can just kind of pull that a little bit tighter to this. We'll go questions here in just one more second, because what I wanted to show is basically right now. I mean, you have the camera operation that's pretty quick. I mean, we can see the gimbal operation is very fast here, and we are at 1x zoom right now. And if we look at the screen right there, we can see that that's just 1x zoom. The functionality, we can either press the button here and zoom in on the button. We'll move the gimbal back up here just a little bit. We can zoom in on the button, or we can hold this button down and use the scroller. But once we go all the way in, and we are in all the way. We saw the movement of that. Once we're all the way in, watch the camera gimbal. So here, come over here to this camera there, and then back out just a little bit. You can watch the two of these, how much not movement that camera gimbal is moving relative to how much zoom you have. And that's at full tilt, full blast. So relative to what the zoom is, we have the best, basically according to Randall, we have on the specs, the best sensitivity and the best working operations and trying to do anti-vibration and the gimbal numbers as far as it running this gimbal to keep it as stable as possible during that full-time zoom. So you have very little gimbal movement here up and down. Let's get a little close-up of the lens, and we'll try to get a there we go. And then we'll roll that back in here. We can see that operation happen. There she comes. So pretty much the whole body works on that. Now they have active track. We talked about that, or we didn't really talk about that, and I haven't really experimented with it yet. So I didn't want to get too much into the information on how it operates and what it does. We were just kind of pressed for time yesterday to try and get a whole functionality, but we'll do another little, basically do another setup on that. So video and explain and run through it. So, but again, the Z30, incredible camera. Some of the things we did talk about in Inspire 2 will not work on the Inspire 2 right now. None of the X series cameras that are previous for the Inspire 1 are also going to work on that. As we talk about the Inspire 2 for just a second, it's going to be a great cinema platform. It's going to be a great camera platform. It's fantastic for all that. All of the things that we wanted in the Inspire 2 to be able to benefit some of the utility guys. So, I mean, your inspection and utility as well as the search and rescue and fire guys, all of our municipal friends. I mean, adding the FPV camera, adding the twin batteries, the warmers, all of those things are basically what we wanted in the next airframe. But by DJI limiting the camera capability, it's a design based around doing that cinema side of stuff. The workflow, how the cameras operate, all of that is basically for that side of using these drones and those cameras, using the Inspire 2. So, cross my fingers that we're going to have something very similar here shortly that would utilize some of these earlier cameras like the XT, like the Z3, possibly the Z30. I mean, we have the M100 out, but it's not quite the Inspire that everybody is so in love with. So that's my thoughts on the Inspire 2. Inspire 2 is going to be fantastic. Whether it's going to be utilized great for these other types of industries, I don't know. But it's definitely on the photographer, cinematographer side. So just to answer that question, none of those cameras are going to work. The Z30 is only set up to work up right now with the M600 and the M100. So we'll try to go through a couple more questions, and I think we'll be good. So let's see. What's the wind stability like from David? Absolutely awesome. It's pretty windy one day, 25 miles per hour, so she does pretty good out there, considering that she's such a big ship. Now, that is determined. If it's really light, it's going to blow around easier. If it's really heavy, it's not. So thanks for that question. Also a question from David. Can you tell us more about the two camera setup on the M600 Pro? How do you control both cameras and the video on the screen? So the M600, both of them are running the Lightbridge 2. Lightbridge 2 is basically control and video transmission. The M600 is only going to come with one controller, and that's the pretty black one. It only comes with one. If you want to run a second controller, none of the Inspire radios, Phantom radios, none of that's going to work. You have to run a Lightbridge 2 radio system, ground station. We carry those. So if you want to have a two-man setup, still running a DJI product, running the camera, the DJI camera, you'll definitely want to pick up one of the Lightbridge 2 ground station systems. So, and then as far as like just how you control it, that's all part of that system. You can still take videos, start and stop recording, and all of that stuff can be done from that second camera or second operator, second radio system. So thanks, David, for that question. I think we got that. Let's see, this is probably easier. Pretty much answered that one of it not working with the Inspire. That is true.
Yes.
The cameras are available to purchase right now. We have some more coming in from DJI. We're trying to fill up back orders currently, so we've got some of that going on. So we definitely, Rodney, will have the availability of those cameras here pretty soon. So if you are interested in any of the cameras, setups, full packages, please email us at sales@rmus.com, and we can get a guy in touch with you on that. Cliff, good question. Can a Matrice 100 with a 2-battery setup carry the Z30? So I've done a 2-battery setup with the X5. In comparison, the X5 is only 1 ounce lighter than the Z30. And it was kind of a struggle for the M100 to fly 2 batteries and the X5. So my suggestion is not to run the twin battery setup and treat it more of a quick inspection tool rather than trying to get the flight time out of the 2 batteries. In essence, you're only going to increase maybe max 20% flight time, and you're pushing the limits on the M100. So good question, Cliff, on the M100 and carrying the Z30. It can do it, but I just, if it's windy or anything like that, that ship can get very unstable with how much weight it's trying to carry. So good question, Cliff. Don't suggest it. Just the Z30 and the X5 and 1 battery is usually what I suggest. Z30 has some issues breaking up the... I don't know that. Ron Harper, is the RTK worth it? As far as interference goes, 110%. If you've got enough glass dollars amount or whatever tied up into the ship and trying to get close to any kind of infrastructure that can cause compass problems, that is probably the number one issue is the compass getting out of control. The design of the Pro was basically to help out with that compass problem. So it's not an RTK, that is different. RTK also has the interference, has a great Z-hold capability, as well as the ground station portion. We're still testing a lot of that. I know we've got the ground station app that will be coming out soon, or the ground station system by DJI that will hopefully answer a lot of those RTK questions. But is it worth it? I just tell you that, again, our friend Troy Ballard, who's been using the RTK system on his M600, has been flying and around very sensitive. This is a very sensitive space, but around NASCAR tracks, I mean, when those guys are asking for him to get close, around, or near, man, that can be very, very, very scary if he has any kind of interference issues. And so far, 100% proven that the RTK system on there in interference issues is pretty null. So again, that is kind of a question on whether the interference is more of a worth it, or whether the GPS holding is worth it, or geotagging. There's all of these further questions. So I like mine. That's about what there is to say. Oh yeah, David. Yeah, 100. Yeah, another comment of the 100. Don't overweight the 100 M100. What is the charge time? They got all kinds of good questions. What is the charge time for 6 batteries? How many batteries should we ensure continuous operations of the M600? So this is a mathematical thing, depending on a couple of deals. Just as my experience of building these things for a long time. When you're trying to cycle and continue to fly, this is based on payload. That's number one. The ship capacity of how long it is going to fly. So M600 usually does by itself with nothing even on it. Here in Utah, I can fly for about 40 minutes. If I load an X3 or an XT on there, I can fly for 39 minutes and 30 seconds. Literally, it's like it doesn't even feel that it's even on there. But if I put an X5, a little bit heavier. We put the Z3, a little bit heavier. We put an MX Ronin on there with a big glass, a little bit different. So the flight time is going to be dependent on the charge cycle time, and with the DJI charger, we're looking at about an hour to an hour and 20 minutes or so of being able to charge that battery, sometimes even longer depending on the TB48s versus the TB47s. So, I mean, my number for the Inspire is 8. having 8 sets of batteries to do continuous flying on a 15 to 18 minute flight. And if you're lucky enough to push up to 20, great. But for the batteries to get the cooling down time that they need without going right back on the charger, I mean, 8 sets, yeah, that's a lot of money. But 3 sets will probably keep you in the air long enough. I mean, that's continual flying for almost 2 hours, if not a little bit more than that, depending on the package. So if you can't get what you want done in 2 hours, there is an issue there if you only got 3 sets of TB48s carrying a pretty light package. But that is a good question on cycle and continuous use. That is really important in the municipal guy's side. So extra cam ports on the M600. This means additional camera inputs for streaming other sensory cameras. The cam ports are part of the cam plug ports are going to be part of the that Pro system, if you will. But as far as like adding additional cameras, I've got on the back of here, if you didn't see, I've got a Z3 just kind of sitting on the back because it's there, but I cannot run both of these and the app at the same time. It won't control them. You can't connect another cam system up to it. The app gets confused. It doesn't have the bandwidth it needs to try to broadcast both of the cameras together. So as far as I know, I mean, I don't think you could do any more DJI cameras setups on the Pro as far as more than one. As far as connecting other sensors, if you know how to use them or know how to get into some of the SDK stuff on the M100, sure. I mean, I wouldn't see why you couldn't do that. So Chris has a question. We have the M600. Can you go over one more time real quick between the difference between the standard and the Pro? Big differences. Landing gear can be removed. That's a big one. It does come with the Pro system. So that's added the GPS and everything else, and it comes with the hex charger. Still TB48 batteries, or sorry, TB47 batteries that come stock with it. But the big one is the price difference. $500 price difference, and you get approximately $1,000 to $1,100 worth of stuff for only $500 more than the original. We're able to get it a lot more compact. It does have the little rubber booties. You know, everybody seems to like the little rubber or the little, but it's really the compactness, being able to take the landing gear off. So, like I said, once the landing gear is pretty much removed, you can keep it pretty compact. There's other small things that are a little bit different there, but not enough to have to change whole packages of what you're currently carrying right now if you wanted to upgrade to the Pro version. So. Can you convert a standard M600 landing gear to the Pro version? It's come up before. We did discuss that for a second. Yes, you probably could do that. If you know what you're doing, you can probably do that. It's not going to be as easy. There's just some bolts and stuff like that you have to take undone, but it can be done. I mean, I've already looked at this and trying to do that to mine just to see if it could be done. But like I said, the big thing is that the antenna wire right here runs down inside here and then hits the antenna on the original M600. You'd have to be able to take that off, and or by just disconnecting here, there is that little connector that the antenna connects to that you can take apart. I just don't like taking apart that little thing all the time. So if we can alleviate that, we can probably run